Today we are looking at the ZTE Unico. This is an all-new LTE phone from Straight Talk. It retails for $199.99, and this phone is the GSM variety. So what that means to you is that it will be activated with either AT&T or T-Mobile. Straight Talk doesn't advertise that, and if you call them, they're not going to confirm that, but those are the two GSM carriers that are available to everybody. More than likely, this phone will be activated with AT&T, though. I just think that's who they'll use. So before you run out and buy this phone, make sure that you have LTE coverage from AT&T in your area. If you don't have that, or maybe you only have good LTE coverage from Verizon or Sprint, then this phone is not going to do you any good as far as the 4G LTE goes. So again, check the coverage maps. AT&T LTE is probably what you will get with this phone. Now the other specs on this one are a 4.5-inch screen, 1.2 gig processor. It does come with an 8 gig pre-installed SD card, which I'll show you here. The battery cover is very easy to remove, by the way. And here is the SD card. I think they advertise 4 gig pre-installed, but it does come with 8 gigs. And of course there's your SIM card, being that this is GSM. Now the Android version on this one is 4.1.2, so that is actually Jelly Bean. It's not the latest Android, but it's fairly close to it. Dimensions on this one, this phone is fairly large. It's not obnoxiously large, but it's fairly large. It measures about 5.25 inches tall, as you can see. There it is with the playing card, and we'll go ahead and measure it. So we have 5.2 on the height. The width is about 2.6, and the thickness is a little bit less than half. Now the screen, as I said, this is a 4.5-inch display. So there we have 4.45. So 4.5 basically as advertised. Now the weight on this one, it's not a lightweight by any means. It weighs in about 5 ounces or so, a little bit less, so 4.9 ounces. Now as far as the design goes, this is pretty typical for all the ZTE phones. They all pretty much look very similar. At least you know, the different sizes that they have. All the large ones look very similar to this. So basically at the bottom you have your 3 capacitive Android buttons, which is common on all these. The cool thing about some of these ZTEs, most of them, I think I've only ran into one phone that doesn't have, one ZTE that doesn't have this, but is that they all have this cool light sensor at the top. So in low light, the buttons will actually light up automatically, which is cool. Now another thing that this phone has is a front-facing VGA camera. Now on the back, of course, you have a 5-megapixel camera with an LED flash. Now this battery cover is that rubberized material, so it's got kind of like that velvety feel to it. Now, continuing on the design of this, it's not a super flashy phone, but the only trim that you have is this silver trim that goes around the perimeter of the phone. Now, again, the phone is all plastic. That includes that trim, so it's of a metal look, I guess, type material, but it is plastic. Everything else is pretty much where you'd expect it to be, fairly standard. You have your 3.5 inch or 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's just regular iPod size. There's your lock power button, your volume button or rocker buttons, and your charge port on the bottom left. Now, as far as the interface goes, this one's got the typical interface. All these are slightly different, and I don't know why they do that, but they've all got kind of a slightly different look to them. This one, for example, when you go from home screen to home screen, you have kind of like the regular slider action. And the response on the display, by the way, is very good on this phone. There's absolutely no hesitation or you know, that slow response when you go from screen to screen and look at these animations. Same thing here, quite smooth and responsive. Now, as far as the Android items are concerned, of course, everything here is pretty standard. There's nothing new on this phone that you wouldn't get on any other ZTE phone or any other modern Android straight talk phone for that matter. Of course, you have the Google Play Store where you download your apps. You will need a Google account for that, and there is no that all goes through Google. There's no relation to Straight Talk when you go through that Play Store, by the way. Of course, you got the YouTube app, which works great on this phone. Which brings me to another point, and that's the fact that the display on this phone is quite nice. It's very crisp, and videos look really good on this phone, by the way. Now, that and the fact that it's LTE means you will get a better video quality because it's 5 to 10 times faster basically than the regular 3G. Anyway, back to the Google items. We were on YouTube. This phone, of course, gives you Google Maps. It is GPS enabled. Now, a little while ago, they used to have a Google Maps and a navigation app. They've done away with the navigation app and just basically left Google Maps. It's all integrated into Google Maps now. So you can use this for navigating with this app. So you don't need that separate navigation app like they had before, now that they've kind of integrated everything into Google Maps. And as I said, this screen is very responsive, as you can see on the zooming out of the map. And of course, it's got the multi-touch, pinch zoom, and all that.